Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Tavis Leaf Glover, and today we have another Canada Design quick tips. They keep coming. I hope you guys like these. Today we're going to be looking at one of my favorite paintings. It's called The Absinthe Drinkers by Edgar Degas. Saw this in the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. We'll just look at a couple of techniques and then we'll be all set. So the purpose of these videos is just to keep you guys sharp so you can keep applying these techniques to your own art. Photography, painting, sculpting, cinematography, certainly almost every visual art. So let's look at the grid first, okay? So if you take the image size, find the dimensions, which is 1053 pixels divided by 780 pixels, gives us this ratio, 1.35. And then if you look in the ratio guide in the dynamic symmetry book, you'll find that the 1.35 is very similar to side-by-side 1.5 grids or the 4/3 grid. So in this case, with the diagonals present within the composition, we're going with the 1.5 stack grids, which is, we call it micro 4/3 because the photographers can use this on their 4/3 cameras, or if you're using the iPhone, you can use this grid on your standard iPhone camera. But this is the 4/3 grid, and it's the same exact size as two 1.5 rectangles stacked, which is pretty cool. And I'll link a video above to explain that further, but we won't confuse you for now. So we're going with the 1.5 MAD stacked, the major area divisions. We can start to see certain things locking in, lining up, but we also need a little bit more. We've got added lines, and added lines are used to configure your grid further. If you don't have the specific diagonal within your grid, you can adhere to the same geometry of the grid without creating arbitrary diagonals. So all you do is use the eyes, the intersection points, to another eye, run the line across, so you can see how he's getting the diagonal of this table here. So to configure the grid the way you need to for your composition, we've got an eye here, and that can run across and create this horizontal. Then we've got an eye here, and that can run across to this eye, this new eye that you just created, okay? Run across there, and that gives us the diagonal for that table there, okay? So Degas is using this grid. He's configuring it how he needs to, so he can also adhere to the geometry within this rectangle and this grid system that he's using. Okay, so that's added lines, and then we're going to go up here and look at the coincidences he's using. And that's the law of continuity at work, which is a Gestalt psychology principle that creates unity and movement within the composition. Let me get this arrow out here. You can see how it's running up down here, same line, broken up and hidden. Obviously, this is what you want to do when you're hiding a magic trick. You want to break it up like a dot to dot. It's connecting here and then connecting to this ashtray here. The top of this ashtray is coming across to her foot. Her foot is coming up to the edge of this glass of absinthe. The top of this absinthe is coming across to the line of the, looks like soda pop or Coke. So those are all coincidences. This line is coming down. It's broken up, but this is creating unity and movement. It's creating this downward movement to another edge of contrast, which is his sleeve, and then down to his shoe, the ankle here. Yeah, if we run down her nose, we find her arm, we find the edge of the table, and it's coming down to the edge of her shoe. So we've got all this unity and movement that Degas is using and creating. And then the last technique we want to look at is the figure ground relationship, which he's running behind the subjects. So he's got nice contrast behind the head of each subject coming around. You want to just run an imaginary line around the subject, and that'll tell you if you've got nice figure ground relationship or not. So if you're taking a photo of a model, just quickly run your eye around the model. Make sure there's no distracting elements behind the head and there's sufficient contrast around the subject. This, see, lack of contrast, this is sufficient contrast right here, and then lacking contrast is here, and then really bad contrast is right here. But this area here, he's creating that depth, the aerial perspective. Same here. Down here, it's all kind of the similar contrast here. So it creates the depth there. But then you can also go down here, and he's got a nice figure ground relationship here. We can tell it's a leg, and then we can see that her dress is separated from there. Right here is low contrast, kind of blending in with the background. the floor. And then we've got nice contrast here, nice contrast here and here. So you want to just run the imaginary line if you're taking photos, or if you're a painter or whatever. Squint your eyes and see what you can see. See if you can see low contrast in these areas, or if you need to increase the lighting on the side of her head, or if you need to add a little bit more paint on this side of the head. Make an adjustment however you need to improve the figure-ground relationship, but also incorporate the depth that you need. Okay, but the most important areas that you want to have nice figure-ground relationship is the face. Okay, you don't want that to be confused. So Degas got the heads with nice figure-ground relationship, so we can easily identify them. Okay, so that's Degas. If you have any master artists you want me to analyze, leave a comment below and I'll see what I can do to get to them. All right, thanks for the support, and I'll see you in the next one.